Kemi is the founder of Dash Me Foundation, which raises funds and awareness for small indigenous charities and groups working with orphaned and vulnerable children, disadvantaged youth, and victims of domestic violence in Nigeria. A finance professional with over 33 years of experience gained internationally and within Nigeria, she is the immediate past Minister of Finance of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. She is also the first woman to hold the post of Commissioner for Finance in Ogun State Government. A graduate of Applied Economics from the University of East London with a postgraduate diploma in Public Financial Management from the University of London and a Master's in Public Administration from London School of Economics, Kemi is a qualified chartered accountant. Kemi loves good food, old school music and Sudoku. She is passionate about ministry and is a loud advocate of encouraging women to invest. Please welcome to the Uncommon Woman Conference 2022, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun.
Ladies, welcome to what I know is going to be a fantastic conversation. I certainly am really looking forward to it. As you've heard, we have Mrs. Kemi Adeosun with us. Welcome again to the Uncommon Woman Conference. Really excited to talk to you. Tell us why.
I was chartered accountant. I had these great dreams of where I thought I should be. And it was around that period that I was new to God, and He just began to show me things about me and my attitude, and you know when you think you're above something, you don't do it properly, and God had to really deal with me, and it was in that process that I then got a breakthrough. So actually, it was my boss there who moved somewhere else, and then asked me to join him, and that proved a huge breakthrough for us. So that was a big lesson for me, just learning about humility and waiting, and when something's not quite working, just trusting the process. And funnily enough, the experience that I had there became hugely valuable to me when I found myself in the public sector in Nigeria, which was not something I'd ever dreamed of doing.
Let's talk about that. How did you transition from working as a consultant here, and how did you find yourself back in Nigeria?
Yeah, so the Nigeria story is interesting because I'd never been to Nigeria to live. So I'd only been on holidays. I used to get a visa, go to Nigeria, 2 weeks.
So you were born
holiday.
here?
I was born here, born in Highbury.
Okay.
Born, bred, buttered here. Lived here until I was 36.
Wow.
So at 36, found myself back in Nigeria. Very circuitous route. Actually, what happened was my daughter wrote this fantastic piece of writing. You know how they put the writing up on the board at school, and it was "My mother is a single mother," and I was like, "Oops," because my husband was in Nigeria and I was here. I was living that life, and I thought, "No, I need to correct this narrative."
Wow.
Yeah, so she got a star, and I got sort of a word from God, like,
"Oh my gosh,
it's time to do something." So I came to Nigeria, a bit of a journey. PwC kept my job open for me. They weren't sure. When I told them I'd never lived in Nigeria before, they were like, "Okay, we'll keep your job open." It's like, "You'll be back."
You'll be back.
Yeah, and it started a journey that started in 2002 and led me then into public sector, working in Ogun State as Commissioner for Finance in 2011, and ultimately as Minister of Finance in 2015. So
wow. Okay, so Minister of Finance, I think most people who are watching probably are aware of that. And then something huge happened at that point. I know the NYSC saga, which is probably what a lot of people want to know about. Yeah. So what happened with that?
Let me pedal back a little, first of all, and say that when I came into the Ministry of Finance, I was following in the footsteps of a giant, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Harvard trained, everything. So when I came in, everybody was like, what is this one coming to do? And I remember looking at some of the press, and it was just horrible. It was like, in fact, there was one where they removed my head and put a coconut, like, you know, and then the economy wasn't doing well. Okay. So I was really under fire from day one. And then started working, and things started to turn around by God's grace in the economy, and maybe people's impression of me started to improve. And just when I thought, okay, suddenly, out of nowhere, and the date is the 7th of the 7th, 2018, a story broke that I had forged an exemption certificate for NYSC. Now, for those who don't know...
What's a...
Right.
Yeah.
So the National Youth Service Corps is something that graduates have to do for a year.
Nigerian
graduates have to do for a year.
Okay.
And if you don't do it, you're meant to get an exemption, and there are certain classes,
Okay.
grounds on which you can get an exemption.
Right.
And the most common being that you were over 30 when you graduated.
Okay.
So, but in my case, the grounds of my exemption were that actually at the time I graduated in '89, I wasn't a Nigerian. And the reason for that was that the '79 Constitution, so I'm not a lawyer, but this is Law 101.
Okay.
Stick with me.
For me,
Stick
yes,
with me.
I'm
Stick
with you.
Me. Right. So the '79 Constitution forbade you from having dual citizenship.
Right.
At the age of 21, every Nigerian who wanted to remain a Nigerian was required to renounce their other citizenship.
Wow. Okay.
I was here,
Yes.
working in my council.
Yeah, because you were
working
born
in London.
here. Yes,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah.
Working and living in London.
Yeah.
So I never renounced my citizenship at 21.
Right.
At 22, I graduated. I started working in London. And I carried on working in London until I was 36. Then went back to Nigeria.
Right.
Sought legal advice. Look, what's my position with NYSC? Lawyers looked at it, correctly interpreted the law, and said, you are exempt. No problems.
Yeah.
So I carried on. I was actually... because I was in financial services, I was actually registered with the Securities Exchange Commission. So every 2 years you had to go out, bring all your credentials. So every time I was asked the question about NYSC...
And did they say why you were exempt? Did they tell you and they were aware and everyone
everybody
was aware?
kind of understood that,
Okay.
okay, you weren't a citizen.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
You know, if I came to Nigeria, I came as a visitor. I'd get a visa.
Yeah.
I'd be in the queue that says other nationals because
Right.
I was not a Nigerian. By law, I was able to become a Nigerian in '99, but at the time I was 32.
Wow.
But I actually got my first Nigerian passport at 34.
Wow. Okay.
And then moved to Nigeria at 36,
I
right?
see. Okay.
So I'd had no problems. In 2011, I got invited to become Commissioner for Finance in Ogun State. And for the screening, they said, you need a certificate, you need something to evidence your exempt status. So fine, give us all your documents, we'll process it for you. Processed, I was given a certificate. Presented, no questions. When I became a minister in 2015, presented, no questions. And then you get screened by DSS, which is the equivalent of MI5.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whose job it is to
Check.
things. Presented,
Yeah.
no questions. And then suddenly, out of the blue, this allegation. Oh, since you graduated at 22, you should have served, you must have forged your certificate. That was basically the allegation.
But they knew that when you graduated, you weren't a Nigerian citizen, so you couldn't have served. Because can you serve even though you're not a
No,
Nigerian
it's illegal.
citizen?
It's
see.
illegal.
So that would have been illegal even if you tried to
Yeah.
do it. Right.
It would have been illegal. But no, nobody was listening. And people
Wow.
just started having amnesia, and then the press and social media in particular were just vicious. And the stress was just like, you know, it was eating at me. I couldn't work anymore. I remember losing my hair. I remember waking up one morning and just seeing my hair on the floor and then thinking, right, this is it. Time to go. So I resigned. And there were different opinions. People say, you shouldn't have resigned. Nobody resigns finance. I'm like, listen, I'm gone. I'm done. But I wanted to go clear my name.
Of course.
So I went back to the powers that be and said, listen, I'm going to court and got to go to court to solve this problem.
So did you decide to go to court immediately, or was there a process?
No, it was like about a month. I mean, I spent about 3 months just crying.
Oh my God.
Right, yeah, so just crying. I mean, crying, feeling sorry for myself, feeling upset with God,
Yeah.
feeling ashamed that I had been tainted by something of this nature, because I had always been somebody who spent a lot of time, for example, with teenagers, telling them you do the right thing. You know, you do the Joseph thing, you do the Daniel thing, even if you pay the price, you do what's right. So to be tainted by something like this for me was like, it was low.
And I suppose you probably felt a bit betrayed as well, because everyone that you should go to, who you did go to, said you were fine.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, this news
Yeah.
comes up from nowhere.
Nowhere.
Which is
Yeah.
just so...
I had a list of people that I had who had offended me,
Wow.
quote unquote, in one way, in my opinion. And so God, I think, gave me time to deal with that. A lot of crying. Oh, I did a lot of crying.
Oh,
I was a specialist in crying. I'd make sure everybody had left. I'd just sit down and have a good cry. And I used to announce to God, you know,
I'm gonna cry.
Gonna cry.
A good cry is always good.
Yeah.
It's
But,
always good.
You know, God is patient. So he gave me time to cry. And I remember one particular day saying to God, I'm going to cry. And I went to go and get the tissues. And as I reached for the tissues, my Bible fell on the floor. And it opened in Jeremiah.
Wow.
And what was the word my thumb was on? Weep not, and refrain your eyes from crying.
No way.
I cried. But it was a different kind of crying. It was crying of God, so up in the heavens.
He heard you.
Yeah. You're looking down on my situation and you know the detail of I'm about to cry and you're telling me weep not. Of course, the crying was different now. The crying was like praise and thank you for being. So you're here with me. You're in this with me. And that kind of was a turning point for me. And then I went through, you know, the whole, you need to forgive those who you feel offended you. You need to move through this. And I was waiting for this.
I suppose also as an accomplished person who I am assuming will pride themselves in their achievement, this sort of news would have made you, I can't even imagine how you felt.
I was ashamed.
What were you? Yeah.
I mean, the word I would use, I was just ashamed. How do I come to be associated with this kind of thing? You know,
especially when you haven't done anything wrong.
Well, yeah. And I didn't want to be me, so I moved to London. And any time people recognized me, I was like, I have a sister, so my whole family live here.
Okay.
So my younger sister, who looks a little bit like me, lives in South London. I moved out of our house, moved to South, because I didn't want to be recognized. Just wanted to be quiet, leave me alone. And anytime people would recognize me, say, are you Kemi Adeosun? I'd say, no, she's my sister. And then they'd be like, oh, well, tell her, greet her for me. I'm like, yeah, okay, no problem. I just didn't want to be I just wanted to be left alone.
And what was driving those emotions? Why did you, because you didn't do anything wrong, so why did you feel shame when...
I think if you get accused of something you haven't done, even if you get accused of something you have done, you feel shy.
Of course, yeah.
When you get accused of something you haven't done, and so publicly, right? So this is all the press, this is Twitter, this is social media,
Instagram,
this is BBC.
Wow.
BBC carried the story. You know, I was high profile. You know, I would go to the World Bank meetings. I'd sit down with Christine Lagarde, and suddenly this mess had just come and just, you know, blown my world away.
Wow.
For want of a better description. So yeah, I was ashamed.
Wow.
And I remember one incident, because for therapy I used to cook a lot. I remember we used to cook, and the kids used to say, what's with the food, Mum? We're tired. We haven't even eaten what you cooked yesterday. It was like, you know, it was cooking therapy. And the other therapy was just to wander around aimlessly, window shopping, or buying...
As you do.
Yeah. And then, you know, I'm buying silly things. So Poundland was one of my favourite shops. So it's just wander around in Poundland, in Charlton. I remember one day 2 women were speaking, and one said to the other, that woman looks like Kemi Adeosun. The other was like... What, in Poundland, in Woolwich, former minister, please be serious. The other one breaks free, you know how our people are.
Yes.
She like came up to me, excuse me, are you Kemi Adeosun?
Wow.
So my most British accent, I said, who may she be?
Oh my gosh.
She said, former minister for finance, Nigeria. I said, in Poundland?
No.
And then the other one came up to me, see, I told you. And I just... You know, just walked away. I mean, I had a good laugh that day. So if those ladies are watching, sorry, it was me. But I couldn't deal with being me at that point. I just needed to hide.
Wow.
And I felt I wanted this court case. You know, I needed to go to court. I wanted to clear my name. And then when I cleared my name, I can be Kemi Adeosun again.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Even I'm like, just moved, just hearing this. I'm thinking, you must have felt so alone and just... How do you crawl out of that hole? How do you actually, you know, get yourself out of such a deep-rooted, shameful place?
Yeah.
Where do you even start?
Yeah. You know, David talks about a horrible pit. You know, there's a pit and then there's a horrible pit. This was, for me, was a horrible pit. And I'd be lying to you if I say I crawled out myself, because I didn't. I think God just helped me.
As he
you
does.
know, yeah. and despite the depths of my despair and the volume of my tears, I never felt abandoned. I always felt God was there.
Amazing.
I didn't like what he was doing. I had issues with him.
Did you tell him?
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Especially when I was crying. Yeah. It's like, what's this? I was trying to serve. I was trying to do what's right. How has this happened to me? I'm your child, you know, and you know, you start listing to God all the things you've done. You know, I was teaching in Sunday school, I paid my tithes, I did my offerings. Why is this happening to me?
All the things that qualify you in your mind as a good Christian who doesn't deserve this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
And he didn't answer.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because, God sometimes the silence is one of, he just didn't say anything.
But that must have been difficult if you felt he was being silent.
Yeah,
So
but I also felt he was there.
Amazing.
If you know what I mean. It was
Yes.
like, this crying, this your thing. I'll give you time, but, you need... And when he said to me, weep not, I didn't cry after that. Because I just knew that, okay, you're in this with me.
And you were going to clear your name.
Yeah.
You said you were going to go to court and clear your name.
Yeah.
So did you actually manage to do that?
I did.
Amazing.
But it took 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. For one reason or another, the people I needed to see weren't available. A number of times meetings had been set up, people had traveled. And it got to a point where I just said to God, you know what? I actually began to think maybe he wasn't going to do it. So by that time, I'd gotten to sort of acceptance. Like, even if you don't do it, you're still God. I'm good. And I started looking at scriptures in, I think it was Paul where he says, I'd asked you to remove this...
thorn in my flesh,
Yeah. And if you don't, hey, your grace is sufficient for me. When you get to your grace is sufficient for me.
Yeah. Did you mean it? Did you actually mean it? Or were you just saying it because you'd read it in the Bible?
That's such a great question. I think I was saying it to blackmail God, like... Yeah, so all right, if you're not going to do this, it's good. I'm cool. I wasn't really. And then, so it took 3 years.
Wow.
And then, so there were delays, then COVID, then at one stage the courts went on strike. It was just one thing or another. But when he did it so miraculously and so quickly and so seamlessly.
Amazing.
And
then you must have felt, yes, justice has been served.
Right. So, significantly,
yes,
the court judgment was given on the 7th of the 7th, 2021. So 3 years to the date that, these allegations were made. Court judgment, vindicated, judge in his judgment said she had no reason to serve. She was exempt. She was entitled to an exemption certificate. Actually, almost as if he had taken line by line what had all the accusations and broke them.
Did the media did they, okay.
It was reported widely
everywhere.
And people are sending messages of congratulations.
Amazing.
And...
Thank you, Lord. So you must have felt great. No?
I felt sick.
Wow.
Yeah.
But this is what you had been 3 years and going through the whole, God, why me,
Yeah.
and now he's done it.
Yeah.
So you've reached, you have your answered prayer.
Yeah, and I felt sick.
Wow.
Almost as sick, if not possibly more sick than I did in 2018. Because in 2018, there were, a list of people that were behind it. This one, okay, God, you've done what you... And why don't I feel happy? Why aren't I doing cartwheels? Why am I dancing? Why am I doing a special Thanksgiving in church to celebrate? I felt ill.
Wow.
Yeah. And I knew that something's wrong. Something was wrong. And then, God just began to push me. You need to deal with, there's some issues that you've got to deal with. So I had to find...
Issues within yourself or issues...
when something's wrong, you never know what's wrong. You kind of can't self-diagnose.
You were just not happy.
I wasn't right, Something wasn't right. I mean, I should be,
Of course.
Yeah.
Even I'm thinking, oh my gosh, yay.
Yeah, you're happy for me, right?
Of course,
And I'm walking around, everybody's like, what's wrong with you?
Wow.
Are you sure this judgment? I think, yeah.
Yeah.
So I knew something was wrong. So I reached out to, and then God began to speak to me, you need to find some counsel. You need to find counselling. I'd never had any counselling. I was my own counsellor because as far as I was concerned, I knew what I needed.
Wow.
Court case. You do the court case, God, we're good.
Clear my name and I'm good.
And I'm good.
Wow.
Only I wasn't.
So how did you know you needed counselling?
It was that feeling of something is wrong.
not.
Something's not right. Something's not right. I've been through this trial. It's over, and I'm feeling ill.
Wow.
And so I have this great friend, this mentor, and I said to her, I need counselling. And God began to sort of speak to me. I was like, who can do it? I've got loads of pastor friends. So started this journey and came here for the first time and just poured my heart out. Really, really just let it all go. From 2018, I hadn't really, apart from my family and people around me, hadn't really spoken about, and that was just a journey that just led me deeper. And he was very, very candid and and spoke into me, like things that I had, you know how you, and of course, look, I'd been at a high level, right? So you're minister, everybody,
Yes.
I walk in the room, everybody stands up.
Yeah,
Nobody
yeah.
tells me anything,
Yeah.
you know, they might
Yeah.
tell me that, Madame, you've got a hair sticking out, but no one tells you deep things.
Yeah.
So that was huge for me. That was a journey that led me then to the fast in December,
Okay.
which for me was just a turning point because I hadn't
Was
fasted.
this the 40-day fast?
Yeah.
Okay.
Joined
Okay.
that. Was just
Life-changing,
Life-changing.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
As hard as it is, it's worth it in the end.
Do you know the funny thing? It wasn't hard.
Wow.
No, and I hadn't fasted since I was a child because I was like a rebel. I don't fast.
Wow.
I don't like corporate fast. Why should you tell us when to fast?
Yeah.
I fast when I feel led, and I don't ever feel led. So
Wow.
you know that kind of that kind of relationship with food. But it was awesome. It was awesome, and God began to show me things. He began to show me things about me. He began to challenge me. I began to see things in a different light. You know, I was saying to someone the other day, you know, some of the questions I'm asking now, it's like I'm a new believer. You know, when your guardrails, when you're moved away from your guardrails and you're suddenly thrown into a depth that is unfamiliar, you know, it brings out something really deep in you. So that's been an amazing transformational journey.
I find it quite interesting because I was thinking, and I'm sure everyone who's watching was thinking, of course, when you clear your name, that's it. That's the goal, isn't it? But actually, that wasn't. There was so much more that God wanted to do with you, and the real prize was that.
Yeah.
You know, you, I guess, discovering yourself, finding yourself, you know, just a total restoration of who you are in Christ and all that you thought you were, but who you actually really are in Christ.
I think you summed it up. Yeah. No, that's truth. I mean, I think you've got it. That's very, for me now. That's how I see that. So I don't see it. It's almost like Joseph when he got that revelation that the thing you meant for my harm,
Yes.
you know, God meant it for my good.
Amazing.
I can see that experience in that context.
You've
now.
lived that. Yeah,
I can see it now, and that
Yeah.
allowed me to go into the forgiveness journey of okay. So if Joseph accepts that he's been thrown into the pit and the prison and all that was for his good, you can't be fighting all your brothers.
No, you can't.
So I then had to let some people go, and God led me into journeys of, okay, go forgive. There'd be opportunities. Maybe somebody's child got married or something, or they lost somebody, and I'd reach out, and God would, you know, be prompting, Holy Spirit was prompting me, reach out, this is an opportunity for you to
let
walk in
them
forgiveness.
know. Yes.
To walk in, and you don't have to go and revisit the issue. So I never went to anybody and said, you did this. Then I was like, it's done.
And when you did forgive, what did that do for you?
Oh, wow. Yeah. It was good.
It was good.
That was good.
It
That
was
was
good.
good. That was good. And I knew that I was free when people would talk. You know when you're fighting or when you having, let me call it what it is. You're in enmity with somebody. You hear something bad about them, you're like,
Yeah, I knew that.
yeah. You know, you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
And suddenly people were telling me things and it wasn't doing anything for me.
Amazing.
In fact, I wasn't even interested. After a while, people stopped talking to me about it because it was like, oh, really?
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So I knew I was free of that, and that was very freeing. Yeah,
It
was
must
very
have
freeing.
been. It
Yeah,
must have
it was very
been.
liberating.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It was hard.
Yeah,
The first one was really hard.
Yeah.
But after that, it just got easier.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So we've gone through this amazing restoration, and we're now, I say we, like it's you and I, but I feel like I'm very much part of the story now. So where are you now, and what's happening with you now? And after going through all that and coming out at the end and knowing who you were and who you are now, what are you doing with all of that now?
So part of that journey was quite interesting. One of the things God did in that 3 years of waiting was get me to take my focus off me, because I was a one-issue person. My issue was this NYSC. There's nothing else in the world that matters than my issue. You know when you have an issue,
I know.
it's your issue.
I know.
And God had to take my focus off me. And I remember what happened was during the lockdown, the late now Captain Tom doing that walking up.
Oh,
down,
we love Captain
up,
Tom. He's our national hero.
Wow.
Well, one of our national heroes. Yeah,
And I was so touch. Like, look at this old man. He doesn't even know how much
Doing
longer he's
his
going to
bit.
live doing his bit. And then immediately after they did a feature on Captain Tom, came up one of those adverts that used to really irritate me. So I was at home for 3 years, right? So daytime TV, if you watch daytime TV, there are only two adverts. One's for charities and the other is pay your own for your own funeral.
Yeah.
And as an African, I have a problem with pay your own funeral. At least there should be somebody to bury me
Yes,
now.
hopefully.
How can I pay my own funeral? So I used to hate those adverts, and I
Yeah.
hated the adverts that showed the little African child drinking dirty
Yes,
water.
yes, yes,
Because it
yes.
sent a narrative that, you know, Africans are not doing anything for themselves, which is not actually accurate.
No, it's not.
We actually do quite a lot, but it's not that. It's not structured in the
Yeah.
way that you would recognise. So we don't have,
Yeah.
you know, a Barnardo's, a Save the Children. We have little people opening an orphanage, or little people looking after some disabled people. So I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful to have a charity that highlights and showcases this work at a very granular level across Africa.
Amazing.
And has a different, changes the narrative. So the idea for Dash Me, which is what I do now, Dash Me started, and it started as something very small. I was going to just get some used clothes and things for my friends and sell them online. And then I spoke to this same friend who gave me Pastor Agu's number. I won't name her. I hope she's watching. And I said, this is what I think God has led me to do. And she said, oh, that's too small. You've got to have a
Wow.
big vision. This is
Oh
a
my
problem across
gosh.
Africa. You need to do this, you need to do that. And she just talked it up.
Aw.
So now, we're registered in New York.
Amazing.
We have a family here in the UK. We have family in Nigeria. And the idea, and we have some friends in Ghana who are thinking of getting together. And the idea is to get Africans together, helping themselves.
Amazing.
You know, small amounts. So we have a charity shop. People give us used clothes. We have various activities that we do to raise money, and we channel this money into those little orphanages, those little mum and pop.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, the person that's just taken on 5 kids who are orphans and paid their school fees and has run out of money. They can apply to us, and we verify. One of the things we do, we verify.
Okay,
Yeah, we
okay.
understand our terrain.
Okay.
So we verify.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And that's what I do now, and I just love it. And it's interesting, right? So before I came in here, I was looking at my phone and I got an alert. I'm anal. So I got an alert for something they sold in the show, like 25,000. I'm just excited. This is me that's raised billions of dollars
Wow.
for Nigeria. But the excitement of seeing those little amounts come in, because I know what it can do. I know what 10,000 naira, that 10,000 naira can pay the medical bills of a baby that was dumped in the gutter.
Wow.
You know, because the mother couldn't cope. So I know what those little sums of money can do. So it's very exciting.
Wow,
Yeah, so-
amazing. So I know that you are well accomplished, high profile, a woman, of course, but also a woman who is in an environment that's predominantly male, like politics in Nigeria. What would you say to a woman who's in a field that's, dominated by men?
Interesting. I mean, so politics in Nigeria is, as you've said, very male. I mean, when people ask this question about how do you cope being a woman, I mean, I've always been a woman.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't have anything to compare it to.
Yeah.
So you do what you do. And, but for me, it was all about, I do me. So I am who I am. And I don't try and change who I am to fit into that, that whatever context I find myself in. I just try and do me, and I find that it works. So when I was in Ogun, I was the only one that didn't really understand Yoruba.
Wow.
I was the only one speaking with this English accent from North London. But I think people accept you, how you present yourself. I think my challenge for us as women is that we're always on this performance treadmill. We're always trying to be better, slimmer,
Prove ourselves. Yes,
better eyelashes,
we think we need to.
better shaped eyebrows, more this, better superwoman, cook, clean, do all of the above. And I think we never get to a point of you're enough, you're good as you are. And I think that's really important because I find that our male counterparts, the confidence is just always there.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you just think, where do you get it from? Is it innate? So I think being able to pat ourselves on the back, for me, was important. Saying to myself sometimes, I'm good at what I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
I'm good. and not being apologetic about it, I think is, for me, quite an important attribute, because no one affirms you. You kind of have to affirm yourself. Yeah. And it kind of leads me back to my journey, because of what happened. Anytime anybody said to me, "Oh, you did well as minister," I couldn't hear it. I shut it out.
Wow.
Yeah, because there was a but. And until that was removed,
right.
I wasn't. It was only last week, through this whole process of counselling and therapy and talking about things and dealing with, deep-seated issues, that I was able to look myself in the mirror and say, yeah, you did well.
You did well.
You did
very
well as minister. You did well. You brought in some innovations. You changed a few things. You tried your best. You worked hard. You gave a good account of yourself. I have to tell myself that.
Yeah.
But it took me 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so I hope there's some people out there who can start from now to say,
yes,
you're enough.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So women who are in the marketplace, you are enough. I love that. Pat yourself on the back, affirm yourself. I absolutely love that. And don't be intimidated by the fact that there's so many men around you. You're just as good as anybody, especially if you're in that role, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, amazing. You talked about how you felt so much shame when you were going through all that you were going through, and that's such a big thing. I think, I don't want to say for women, because I think everybody goes through shame, but I feel like as a woman, it's really like a dark cloud that just follows you everywhere, and you see everything through that cloud.
Absolutely.
So I'm just wondering how you kind of walked yourself out of that. Did you have support? Were there people around you to help you see differently? How did you get yourself out of that shameful place?
Yeah, I mean, so interestingly, the quarters that I thought I should have gotten support from, I didn't.
Wow.
Right, I didn't get support from those who I thought should understand, should reach out to me. And that's one of the areas where I knew God was with me. So I got support from very strange places.
Wow.
So I had a particular friend who, for 3 years, he called me every single day. Every day. If he didn't hear my voice, he would just call me and say, "How are you?" We talk about nothing.
Amazing.
Nothing. And I so looked forward to those calls because I was so alone. So I valued that deeply. Whereas, you think the whole machinery in the Christian body works optimally. It doesn't always, because there are people that fall through the cracks. So for me, that was one of the things that I felt God was with me. And I appreciated people so there was a particular governor, a northern governor, I won't mention, he called me every week.
Aww.
Every blessed week he would call me. Just want to make sure you're okay. And he would affirm me. You did well. You have nothing to feel bad about. And after a while I just said to him, "Excellency, you don't need to call me anymore. I'm good. I'm good. I'm all right." So God brings up helpers. But I think for me now as a Christian, I'm more conscious when I see someone going through.
Yes,
I will go and look for them because I've been there. I will look for them. And
I suppose also because you're a very strong person, people may not have necessarily felt you needed their help. They probably thought, "Oh, she's strong enough. She's finance minister. She's all right. She doesn't need me." And they probably didn't think that there was anything they could do. And there are loads of people who are like that. They seem strong. So, you just don't think they need you.
But, the strong people are the ones that cry in the corner, right?
Yes.
And so we do need, everybody needs. Everybody. We're all needy, right? And we need that community of each other. So that's one thing I've learned. I've learned, reach out to people. So if you hear someone's going through, stand with them. Even if it's just a message to say, "Thinking of you," that can lift that person's day.
Wow.
There were days when this particular friend of mine would call me and I just want to hear your voice. I don't have anything to say. And we'd be silent on the phone, but just the thought that someone's getting up and thinking about you is just, it's incredibly valuable to me.
Wow.
And the interesting thing about this particular person, I won't name him, is that God blessed him.
Oh.
God blessed him. It was while he was busy sorting out my problem, he got a call from the blue and his life changed.
Wow.
So, God blessed him.
Amazing.
I'm not saying because of me. I'm not saying, he blessed him. But I think God uses us to support each other. And I think it's an important part of our walk. And the other thing I've learned, talking about that support thing, is I am very, very careful now when I read or hear something about somebody.
Oh, yes.
Because I've been there.
Especially on social media.
I'm careful.
Don't believe the hype.
Don't believe everything you read.
Yeah.
I'm very careful. Because when everybody's shouting something, it may not be correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So
and you're right. It may not be true.
Yeah.
As was your situation.
Yeah. And I think social media gives us this ability to be much more cruel than we would be face to face. So there's certain people who wrote things when I resigned, and I bumped into them, and they're like, "How are you?" And
oh my God,
you know, I'm still that thing you wrote. And I'm like, that's just politics now. And you're like, whoa.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I think I'm very careful. I don't forward things that are negative anymore. I used to. Have you seen this? I don't do it anymore. I've learned. You know, when you're a victim.
Yes.
You learn.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This has been amazing, Mrs. Adeosun. I wish we had so much more time. There's so much more I'd love to ask you, but I've been blessed. And I know that if I've been blessed, everyone watching at home has been blessed to hear your story. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation, for being with us, for blessing us at the Uncommon Women Conference. You're definitely an uncommon woman yourself.
Thank you.
So thank you. I really do mean that from the bottom of my heart.
Hi everyone, the Fatherland Group is a global network of Nigerians armed with a deep understanding of our past, present, and our future. Please like, follow, share our YouTube channel. Subscribe. Subscription on YouTube is actually free, so please do that and turn on your notifications. That way you'll be the first to know whenever we share new content. To learn more, please log on to the fatherlandgroup.org. fatherlandgroup.org. Thank you.